Hello, I'm Adam and I'm down the woods, and for this video we're going to do something a little bit different. Now when I say woods, what I actually mean is an orchard. Here's an apple tree. This one is one of 40 or so apple trees which we have in the orchard. No idea what brand or variety it is because we've inherited this place. Lovely red apples on the tree. This one is absolutely full. Unfortunately, not many are like this. We've had a very strange wet summer, and it appears that a lot of the apples which we thought we would have this year have rotted on the branches, which is a real shame. But today is the 6th of October 2024, which means it's nearly time for harvest. So these ones behind me are pretty much good to go, ready for picking. Nice. So, let's take a little look around, shall we? We'll walk and talk. So this is about the end of the second year since we took this place on. When we first had it, the trees were ready for harvesting, so we spent quite a lot of time picking those apples originally. They were absolutely full, absolutely tons of them. And so this will be the third time, so it must be the anniversary. Kate found it originally. We were looking for a bit of land to explore and enjoy, take the dogs down and chill outside of work, and you couldn't do what I'm doing now, walking around. Actually, good example behind me. It was so overgrown originally that we thought it was scrubland. We didn't realise what it actually was. So we spent a fair bit of time hacking through and discovered it was an orchard. About 40, I think we counted about 43 trees. Let's go this way. 43 apple trees in total, with a mixture of native species like hazel, good for bow making, and we've got the usual hawthorns and blackthorns, ash. Sadly, a lot of the ash have suffered from the dieback, although there's one I've cut back in the background and it seems to be doing pretty well. Thought it had dieback, but apparently it doesn't. Maybe it's cured, who knows? Tell me in the comments. It's just become our nice little happy space, really. According to the neighbours who have been here long enough, this place was planted about 15-20 years ago, and unfortunately it was basically left wild ever since, hence the condition we found it in. So it's actually a little bit of a miracle that we've actually got some apples at the moment with all the hacking back which we've been doing. The unfortunate side of this is because of course we didn't plant it, we have absolutely no idea what half of these actually are. The trees' labels have long since gone, and apple ID is apparently quite hard. It depends on what's pollinated it. The apples might be slightly different each year, that's my understanding. Again, if you know more about it than I do, please tell me in the comments. But we think we've got the sort of regular golden deliciouses and the honey crisps and things like that, because most of them are eating apples. So well, this one looks about ready. Let's give it a go. Wow. That was juicy. That was a huge amount of juice which came out of that, and that is deliciously sweet, like really sweet. Yeah, green apple. Yeah, they all seem pretty green on here. There's another tree which is intruding on it a little bit, but a slightly different type of apple. But I'm going to carry on eating this, and let's go take a look at another one. I'm pretty confident I know what these ones are. Have a look at the size of them compared to the one which I've nearly finished eating. I reckon these are crab apples. I'm not even going to try one. I know from experience, I've tried it before. Very, very sour, very dry, but very good for cider. Puts a lot of tannins in, apparently. This is quite a strange one. It's possibly the only tree in the orchard where I think I've worked out what it is. they're not quite ready to come off. Apparently you harvest these ones roughly around about mid to late October. But here's a wind-fallen one. It's a strange old shape. It's got this sort of bulbous base to it. It's almost like an upside down pear, isn't it? Anyway, I'm pretty sure it's called Lady's Finger of Lancaster. I've known a few ladies. I haven't seen a finger like this, so God knows why it's called that. But apparently it's a Victorian apple. It's definitely a cooker, because last year we made a few crumbles and desserts out of it. So be looking forward to getting these, but they're not quite there yet. They don't want to come off. There's quite a few wind-fallen ones, which I think I will be collecting very shortly, but not many. This is a hazel. It's got a little tiny oak growing underneath it as well. But I coppiced this 2 years ago, and it's brought a new lease of life to it. Coppicing is an ancient technique where you cut it off. You cut the tree down at the lowest possible point, just above the ground level, and it encourages it to put out fresh shoots, and they grow up straight and tall. It opens up the canopy, it lets more light in as a result, and it produces sustainable timber, growing nice and straight. You can use it for fencing, old wattle and dab building materials. If I let it get big enough, round enough, and hopefully straight enough, it could be a longbow as well. Who knows? We'll find out in about 5-6 years maybe. I've just noticed something as well. I'm just going to squeeze through here, literally opposite that hazel I was just showing you. This is a bit inaccessible, but here we are. Look at the size of that one. It's not the prettiest thing in the world, but my God, look at that. I'm going to save that one. That's a good one, isn't it? Right, I think that's probably enough talking. So, time to pick some. Now, many years ago, a long time ago, it feels, I actually used to work on an apple farm when I was a student, when I started college, and I had a bit of student money before studying. I worked on a local apple farm which produced apple juice. It was actually owned by the college I went to as well, and most importantly, I learned how to pick them. Rather than just pulling it and snapping off a fruit bud, which means it won't make fruit again next year, what you actually do is you roll it, you turn the apple up, and it should, if it's ready, just come off if you're nice and gentle. I've got my sack, so in it goes with the others. The size of that one, that's a good one. Look at that. In the bag it goes. Yeah, we're very, very lucky with the job we do, in that obviously everything is based very much around tradition and history, and it's definitely something which we all connect with quite closely. And obviously orchards have been managed for a very, very long time, centuries, thousands of years maybe, worldwide. It's biblical, for example, and yeah, you can't really beat it, to be honest. Nearly there, this side of the tree. Yeah, you might be able to see the problems which we've had here. Apple trees are not supposed to be very tall. Still going up. There it is. Apples are not much use if you can't reach them, even if you try climbing them. I'm not climbing it today. I have done, but I'm not gonna. And yeah. The problem with apple trees as well is you can only take so much off them in one go. If you cut more than about, I think a third is absolute maximum. Most people advise about 25%. If you cut about 25% off them, they don't get too upset. If you cut more than that over winter, they tend to explode in fresh growth. They don't produce any apples and they go a bit wild again, so you end up fighting them. So last year or so with these, I've been trying to thin them down a bit, taking out the middle. So I had loads of branches growing up there just to try and open up the centres. And this winter I think I shall be trying to reduce the height a little bit, get some more sunlight in, be better for next year's apples hopefully. So I think I've got all the ones from this side, so go find some more. So I completely stripped the trees behind me. I've had to get the ladder out over there, and I've now got 2.5 sacks worth of apples, which I think is pretty good for going solo on my own today. So I'm going to call it there. So join me next time and we'll see what happens. Okay, it's now the 20th of October. We've got this massive storm rolling into the UK, which means the winds are due to pick up, and I think all the apples which are up there are going to end up down there. So we need to do something about that fairly quick to save as many as possible. I've roped in Katie in the background to help today to pick as many as possible. So let's see how well we do. Okay, we filled 3 of these buckets next to me here, and as these apples are all destined to ferment and turn into some delicious cider, it's time to prepare them. It's the end of the day, so I'm hoping I've got enough daylight left. It's about 5 p.m. and this machine in front of us, it's hand cranked and it will scrap the apples, which basically means it'll pulse them, and I'm going to leave them for about 24 hours once that's done to break down a little bit more before we juice them. And we're hoping for quite a high sugar content because it's quite late in the year, and they should hopefully be nice and sweet. Big smiles, Katie. You're enjoying yourself?
Yes. Scrunchy, scrunchy, scrunchy.
As you can see, we've lost the daylight, but we have got everything done, which is great. So I will see you tomorrow for some juicing. It's the 21st of October and this has been sitting overnight. It's oxidized a bit, which is perfectly normal, so all the scratted apples have gone slightly brown, but it does mean that it's hopefully broken down a little bit and it will be easier to juice and the yield will be greater. It's quite a warm day today, hence I'm not wearing a jumper, and the wasps are active as well, so this might be a bit of fun. Time to juice them. Behind me I have my brand new homemade apple press. It's more of a traditional design. It's based on various plans I found on the internet. So this is going to be a bit of an experiment. I've got no idea what's going to happen. Right, the idea behind this setup is you make what's called a cake. So I've read, which is basically using this frame as a bit of a guide. And there's muslin cloth, cheesecloth, in between. So I'm going to fill this up, press it down a little bit for good luck. Should go something like that. Genuinely, never done this before, so this is a bit of a learning curve. I'm hoping it'll work. It should press a lot more in one go than my previous techniques have. So I wonder if that's maybe too much, but let's find out. Fold it over, that side, and of course across the middle both ways. There we go. grab my next board. So hopefully if I slide the frame off, this should more or less stay where I put it. Beautiful. And then that one goes on top like that, and we do it again. Apparently these are actually called cheeses. That's the name cider makers give to this setup in between. I guess that makes sense because it's using cheesecloth. Oh, this is going to be juicy. I think I'll go for about the same again. Let's see what happens. You can always take some out if it's a problem. Okay, let's fold it over. Just as we did before. That way. That way. Again. I've used this cloth already. It was used as an experiment, so it's not as white as the other one. The tannins in the apples diet very quickly. Right, load her up. Right, I think I might have gone a little bit overboard with it because ideally I'd like to have a few more blocks of wood in here and to just spread the pressure a little bit. So I think I'm going to start pressing it and then I'm going to open it up again once it's pushed down and see if I can get some more even wood in here. So lesson learnt, next time I'm not going to pack it as high as I have done. But you can see what's happening down here already. The juice is starting to flow, so a little bit of pressure and I'm hoping to see quite a bit come out. This is just an 8-ton bottle jack, car jack, very, very simple. Oh, there we go. Right, I better get on it then, let's do it. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Lovely fresh apple juice. Absolutely flowing out of here. And we haven't even started yet, really. Okay, I popped a block of wood under here just to evenly spread the pressure a little bit more. Hopefully that will help get the juice flowing. So let's crank it up again. Alright, of course here we are, we're still dripping away. I'm not actually sure how much I'm expecting to get out of one press because say it's the first time I've done it. It's wheelbarrow bucket says about 4.5 litres so far out of the first press. That's more than what I got out of the smaller setup I've had. But again, I think there's probably more apples in here anyway. So I'm just going to keep letting it drip and gradually put more pressure on. Oh, there we go, yeah, it's tight. Until I think I got the best out of it, and then I shall reload. Okay, I think I got the best out of this now. Bucket says 5 litres. Yep, I know out of one of these that I can get about 10 litres in the old method. So that's a good guide to go on. It's still dripping though. So I think I'm going to reload it and we'll press again. Alright, it's just started to rain, which is obviously less than ideal, but typical this time of year. Here we go, let's open it up, have a look. It's very squished, a little bit wet still. I wonder if there's a little bit more to get out of that. So I'm gonna chuck this into a bucket and then leave that for another day or so before I reload. And I might have a go at squeezing it after it's mulched down a little bit more as well. So we'll see what happens. But let's get rid of the first layer, then the next, and we'll start again. Yes, I don't think I'll fill it as much this time. Let's not be greedy. Do smaller amounts and see what happens instead. I think there'll be plenty of pressure on it. Oh, this is wet now. We're down at the bottom of the bucket. Some lovely juice which has gathered, so I'm expecting to see quite a lot leaking out before we even start this time. One more for luck. Oh yeah, there we go. Amazing. Here we go. Ah, yeah, look at that. Now I think that as it's flowing nicely, it would be incredibly rude not to have a little taste. Fresh apple juice straight from the source. Oh my God, that is incredible. That should be illegal. That is addictive. Let me get a bit more juice out. Let's have some more. Here we go. I mean, compared to the shop bought stuff, I guess it's pure sugar. It's not watered down, of course. Oh, yeah, I could drink a lot of that. But I suspect if I do, I'll probably get diabetes. But what a way to go. So something just happened and I didn't get on camera, which is sort of a shame. I heard a massive crack and a bang and I thought, oh God, I've broken it. But it split the piece of oak which is between the jack and the top of the press. I mean, admittedly, it's gone along a lamination point because it's a oak worktop. And it did have a bit of metal in. When I first started using it, you can see the jack had obviously pushed its way into the wood. But I put a piece of metal in it to stop that happening, and yeah, it's just given up. But fortunately, we've got some decent yield out of it. Lovely, look at that. And according to the scale on the side, which may or may not be accurate, it is bang on 10 litres, which is kind of what I was expecting. And at this stage, we could take a gravity reading. All right, I've got this hydrometer here, which I've just sterilised. Well, it's dripping. And you can see the numbers on it. If you don't know what one of these is, it's basically a way of measuring how much sugar is in the liquid. The more sugar potentially means more alcohol. So let's just pop it in the bucket and see what it reads. Now, is that high or is it touching the bottom? Oh, it's touching the bottom. Okay. Plan B, fill up the tube and then get the reading that way. So it's on 1.060. if you ignore the meniscus. There it is. That's quite high. Let's see if that all ferments out. That's going to produce a very strong cider. Time to get it into a brew bucket. Let's pop the top off of one of these. And I'm going to quickly sterilise the inside so it's all nice and clean. This is great, this steriliser, you don't have to rinse it off. I mean, I'll tip out the excess once it's sat there for a moment or two. But I say, yeah, you don't actually have to worry about cleaning it completely out. This is about the cleanest cider's going to get, to be honest, because it's a very lazy way of making a home brew. You literally do nothing to it. The natural acid in the apples should take care of all the problems. Right, we're at the end of a fairly long day of pressing. So I managed to get about 2.5 barrels-ish worth of juice. So I've still got a few trees left over in the corner to strip out, and they may even be cider apples. So we're not 100% sure what we got, but they won't be ready until about November by the looks of them. So there's a high chance they could actually be proper cider apples, which would be fantastic. And when we do that, I will top this particular one up because I want to limit how much airspace is at the top here, which will keep the CO2 in and the oxygen relatively out. So this will be fine sitting for a couple of days or so until I get round to it. And all that remains to be done is to put a lid on it and seal it. We don't need to add anything to this. We don't need to add yeast, because there's natural yeast just in the environment on the apple skins, and this will start fermenting on its own. So let's grab the lid, and I am going to pop an airlock on top as well. This will stop any bugs or oxygen getting in. So I filled it up with a little bit of sanitizer to block it out, but as it starts to bubble away, any excess gas which builds up can escape safely through this, and it will stop the barrel obviously exploding, which would be amazing. So let's screw the lid on and pop the bung in, make sure that's nice and tight, and then let's really crank this up so it's absolutely sealed. And it will sit like this for the next few months. Over winter it's going to sit outside. It's going to be a very slow fermentation, and when I see you guys again with this particular barrel and the couple I've got in my van, then we will take the liquid out of the primary and we'll put it into secondary to then age. So I will certainly see you again in January. Have a great winter. Welcome back to this windy but glorious sunny day, and I'm a little bit behind schedule. It's been a rather wet, horrible winter, quite mild for most of it, and this place has just been underwater and full of mud, so it's just been impossible to get on. We have had a few weeks of sunshine, which has been absolutely fantastic. The news said the other day the driest and warmest March since whenever, and it's been a mad dash to try and get some of these trees cut back before the growing season starts. As you can see from the debris, there's quite a lot of cleanup to do now, but let's take the opportunity on this day, which is the 2nd of April way later than expected, to get the last barrel out and decant it into demijohns. It should be all right. Fingers crossed there's no mould or anything. The beauty of the fermentation and keeping the barrel sealed means that the yeast would have given off quite a lot of carbon dioxide, which is heavier than oxygen. And that means that it will create a protective layer over the top of the liquid. So we should be okay. And who knows, maybe it's extracted a little bit more flavour from what's left of the apples. Oh, it's actually bubbling away. Now I've moved it outside into the sun, and that's just getting some warmth on it. So there might be some fermentation left in it still. We'll see as we go. So I'm not going to get too excited. I'm not going to decant it straight away. I've moved it, which means I've disturbed the lees on the bottom here, and we want the sediment to go back down again if it has got a bit mixed up in the short walk over here. The barrel is indicating roughly around 21 litres. The lees at the bottom will take up some of that room, of course, so we may lose a litre, maybe up to 2 litres because of that. So 20 litres, fingers crossed, hopefully will be around that, because I have 5-litre demijohns ready to go. So I'm hoping that we can fill all of those right to the top. Now, another job before we get going is we need to sterilise everything. The great thing about cider is you don't have to be too thorough with your sterilising. If you've made beer before, you'll know that everything has to be clean, like ludicrously clean. But although I am absolutely going to make sure everything is clean, believe me, the natural acid from the apples will also help sterilise all of our equipment as well. So I'm going to use this non-rinse steriliser to spray around the demijohns and any pipes and in the tap and anything else which may come in contact with it, just to be safe. Time to fit the hose pipe to the tap. That should just slide on and create a good seal. And now we need a demijohn. Now I did say it's non-rinse, but there's no point having loads of that in there, so let's tip some of that out. There we go. All right, just about ready to start decanting, but although this has been lovely and sealed for the whole time, we need to allow air to come in. So I'm just going to very carefully remove this bung. And as it is windy today, I don't want a huge amount of air getting in. So take the airlock off, and just allow that little hole, because as the fluid drains, it will have to draw in air to replace it, but it's going to be exposed to air for a very short amount of time. So it should be okay. Ah, yes, look at that. It had a little bit of sediment come through just initially, but if you can see, the hose pipe is now running absolutely clear, which is exactly what I wanted. Coming through quite quickly at the moment. It'll slow down as the levels drop, and any sediment which has come through on the first bottle will settle at the bottom, and we can siphon that off at a later date. Yes, look how clear that is. Now, I want to fill this almost to the top, as high as possible. It's going, it's going, it's going. Oh, beautiful. That is almost spot on, actually. It's best to try and get the cider as high up, reduce as much headspace, therefore less exposure to oxygen, less chance of any mould or fungus growing in there while it ages. Now it is quite high at the moment, but there is also a tube in here, so let's take that out. There we go. So that's more like it. That's where we want it to be. Here we go. On to number 3. There she goes. you can see that I'm filling from the bottom, and the idea behind this is to allow the liquid to push the air out. If you fill from the top and just let it spray everywhere, then you're going to oxidize your cider and it will go off. Just gone beyond 10 litres. I'm guessing we've got about 8 left at the moment. Might be on track. Be a terrible shame if I got a bit left and I have to drink it. I see it's slowing down now, it's got less pressure. Ready with the tap. So let it come to the top and off. Now if you have a look at the water line right here, you'll see it goes down quite far down to the lees, that's what the shadow is, and the tap is sitting above that. That's not my drilling which is at fault, that's where the blank for the tap actually goes. So I'm going to have to tip it very carefully when I get down below the tap line so that the cider will continue to flow out. We don't want any oxygen getting in, so I'm going to have to be quite smooth with that, I think. Wish me luck. It's looking good. Oh, it's bubbling, it's getting low. It's getting very low. Come on, keep going, keep going. Oh no, got some sediment in there. Let's just get it topped up now. It will sort itself out. No, that's it. We are empty. Got a little bit of sediment in there, but that's okay. Right, that's the last one. I've got a little bit too much headspace up here, so I'm going to nip to the shop and get some apple juice to top it up with. And it's better to top it up with apple juice because you might get a little bit of extra fermentation, but it will affect the overall colour of this particular batch. All that remains for now is to seal it so no additional air can get in. I'm going to put some sanitizer inside the airlock, just because it's handy, and that means nothing can get in, or out for that matter. So, push that all together. So I've got sterilised hands now, the amount of sanitizer which is all over everything. And that can go in here. There we go. And don't forget the lid. So that's all 4 demijohns more or less full. I can see as this stuff's sitting in the sun, it's obviously warming up a little bit, and there's some very fine bubbles rising. Now that could be oxygen just finding its way out, but the airlock is also bubbling as well. This one a little bit more so as it's picked up some of the yeast from the bottom. So there's a good chance that it's still fermenting after all this time. So what I'm going to do is quickly sterilise my gravity reader. I'm going to drop it in to the top and measure how much sugar's left. I'm actually hoping there might be a little bit of sugar left in here, so just drop that in. It's bobbing up and down quite far. Right, just let that settle. Now you've got to tease this to the centre because the sides will give a false reading. And yeah, it's looking to me like it's not at 1.0, which would mean there's no sugar. It's just above, about 1.002, possibly 3, possibly 4 at the moment. So that will mean there is a little bit of sugar left, and even better for our purposes, it will mean that the CO2 produced will gradually push out any oxygen in here through the airlock, and it will maintain a nice sterile environment. So I'm going to put these away once I've topped that one up, and they can sit to mature. In this environment, they may continue to ferment very slowly, which is a good thing. The slower the fermentation happens with cider, so I've read and so I've been told by purists, the nicer the flavour which comes out of it. So I'm looking forward to it. Time will tell. It's a shame we can't drink it right now. But all good things come to those who wait. See you next time. Oh, yeah, that's on there. Hello again. It's the end of summer. We're well and truly into September now, and it's nearly time to start this all over again. It's been a very dry summer. I haven't complained, as most of the work we do is outdoors, and it's been fantastic for apples. They're plump, and in the next week I think these ones will start to be picked. And everything feels a little bit early this year. We've got so much of falling already onto the ground, which I've been collecting. And there is an old saying, of course, that when you're picking apples and preparing for next year's cider, you should be drinking the previous year's cider. So it seems like the perfect opportunity to get one of those demijohns out of the storage, crack it open, and start bottling it. See you in a mo. At this stage, I'm going to take a little sample and we're going to see how much of the sugar has converted into alcohol. So don't need a huge amount, a bit more than that. Make sure that drips out properly. There we go. And we can drop our meter into the cider. Well, actually, before I do, have a look. That looks rather clear. Good sign. Oh, that sunk straight down. That's excellent. Yeah, that is bang on 0 effectively. So this has absolutely no sugar in whatsoever. So I could do a little calculation. Well, I'll do it later, but I'll put it here. And we can see how strong it is. Now, rather than tipping this away, why don't we have a little taste? If this was January, it would be customary to pour a bit of a cider on the trees to wassail them and ask the winter spirits to leave. But as it's September, it's going to be my own spirits. Cheers. It's dry. It's very dry, no surprise, there's no sugar in it. But massive hit of apples, huge hit of apples. I mean, obviously, obviously. But compared to like commercial cider, you can taste the apple, if that makes sense. It's very floral, it's honey, but it's not sweet. It actually, it almost fools you into thinking it is sweet, even though it's not. Quite tangy, crisp, very refreshing, and all the goodness of pure apple juice. Now onto the bottles. We want to put the entire tube inside to the bottom because we don't really want to mix any air in here because that will aerate the drink and probably turn it to vinegar. And we want it to fill gradually up from the bottom and push all the oxygen out. Right, we're filling. Being a brown bottle though, it's very hard to see the level. Right, that's one. I don't intend to carbonate this. I quite like it flat, natural. If I were to carbonate it, we could put a spoon of sugar inside the bottle, and that would allow a secondary fermentation, which would create carbon dioxide, and that's what would give you the fizz. It's exactly the same as how champagne gets its fizz. Last year I kegged it. I put it all in a keg and forced carbon dioxide in, which worked quite well, but it definitely changes the flavour when you carbonate it. I'm filling these bottles pretty much to the top, because when the tube comes out, that obviously reduces the level slightly. The joy of doing this outside, no flat surfaces. Well, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bottles. I've got 8 down here. I think we can get at least 9. It's handy having the camera here for me, actually. I can see the dip tube for once. I think this might be our last bottle. So we're quite low now. And I could do a tilting the demijohn. So I've got some ash from our boat making courses. Just an offcut. And I'm hoping that will balance. Yeah, okay. Let's see how much we can get out of it. Oh, I think that's what we call just got it before it starts pulling some air. Still a little bit in there, mind. Right, another bottle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, I said 9, didn't I? Okay. Right, I'm gonna take these back. They're going to go in the fridge. I'll chill them down, and then they're ready to be enjoyed. What a great year. And what a year it's been. The apples from this summer have now been squeezed, and the cycle has started again. So all that remains for me to say is thank you for watching this video, which has literally taken me a whole year to produce. If you have enjoyed it, don't forget to like and subscribe and strike that notification bell. And I will be seeing you next time for another exciting adventure with Now Strike. Cheers. Delicious. It's going to be a good Christmas. See you next time.